Welcome to Baseball Abroad, where we look at the global game of opportunity and baseball around the world.
Baseball Abroad, episode 2, and we're back. It's been a while. I got Ryan with me. I'm Devon Ramirez, and here we go, off and running again.
It's great to get back on the recording train here. I mean, we're recording in the early part of October now, so after your season wrapped up, unfortunate about the championship series, but you guys put on a hell of a show for Regensburg.
Yeah, I mean, touching on that real quick before we dive into a very important topic. Even though we didn't win the championship, to see the club and the members of the club and the fans of the club really come together and be united this year was our overall goal, which we achieved. Obviously, we didn't achieve the goal of winning a championship. But again, that, like they say, there's always next year. We had a meet and greet, if you will, after the season, and we had a lot of fans show up to get autographs, to say hi, to hand out hugs, to hear a lot of people say that they were really thankful for the way that we played and the way we represented Regensburg and how they cannot wait until next year. I think gives the team some energy into getting after it this offseason and getting ready for next season.
One of the big things that we were looking to do with this podcast was to explore how American players coming out of college, coming out of the independent leagues, could make their way to foreign domestic leagues in places like Europe, Australia, what have you, places that you've played for the most part, kind of seeing how they can find those opportunities to not only play abroad, but also kind of integrate abroad and experience life in these places. The topic that I want to tackle today is that first contact. I want to go through that initial connection. I want to go through discussing contracts, everyday details like finding accommodations during those early days in a country like Germany or the Czech Republic or something like that, somewhere in Europe or Australia even, kind of looking at those initial connections, the contracts, the accommodations, day jobs, and kind of how you experienced settling into a foreign country as an American playing overseas. I mean, kind of thinking back to your first experiences doing that, as well as advice that you might have for players that are looking to make that initial jump over now.
First initial thought that comes to my mind, if we're going to explain this journey and how players can go from where they're at right now in their career to then jumping into Australia or jumping into Europe, is number one, explore American baseball to the end. And why do I say that? I have a lot of people that write me on Instagram and fresh out of college wanting to go overseas or haven't explored indie ball, haven't, in those routes. Overseas baseball is always going to be there. And it probably will be an even not easier chance, but you'll have a better chance of getting overseas if you continue your career in America until you can't make it any further, because you're building a resume that will be appealing to teams overseas. Because what I'm seeing now currently, there are a lot of guys coming overseas that have not only Division I college experience, but some high-level professional baseball experience. For example, our second baseman this past year played AAA with Seattle and now played second base for us last year. The Heidenheim team that we lost to, their import pitcher made it up to AA with the Pirates. There is a lot of experienced guys jumping from baseball in America to overseas baseball. And in order for you to stack up against these resumes, because again, you're not going to have an opportunity to jump on a call until they have vetted all the resumes, vetted all the players, and then they're finally interested on pulling the trigger, but they may want to get to know you as a person. You won't get that face-to-face. You'll only be seen on a piece of paper. So stack up your resume. What does that mean? Professional experience, high college level experience, indie ball experience as well. And on top of that, because that's what everybody knows, coaching experience. Go coach, 13U teams, 12U teams. Put that on your resume. And why that's important is because in Australia, a lot of teams want to bring players that can give back to the club. Because a big thing you have to understand is you're going to join a club. You're not going to join what we believe is a professional team, as they bring in guys, you perform, you get paid. They want you to perform, but they also are trying to breed players or groom players from the age of 8 through their club to then play on the top team, the team that they're bringing you on to be a part of. So you need to be able to give back to those teams. For example, we brought in a guy Nico Antoine. Nico Antoine, French player, played in Japan, signed a professional contract in Japan, played in Japan, played in Australia as well, and just kept racking up that professional experience. And then on top of that, coaching at the same time. Part of his contract to come play for us was he had to coach one of our junior teams too. So he was giving back to our junior teams as part of his contract because you mentioned jobs, and these are part of the jobs that you can get to increase that monetary value when you go overseas to play. I worked at a place called Beach City Baseball Academy, and we used to have like the Japanese Little League World Series team come out and play tournaments against our teams. And I coached any teams from 9 all the way up to 16, and this was throughout college as well. I did it just because I really enjoyed working with the next generation of baseball players. It's always been a passion of mine. But funny enough, when you do things that you're passionate about and you do them for a good reason, sometimes they come back to really help you in the long run. And that's something that I know stood out on my first ever chance to go over and play in Australia was the fact that I had also coaching experience with younger teams. Yes, I played indie ball. I could pitch as a lefty. I could play the outfield. I was intriguing in those circumstances, but I could also coach and give back to some junior teams, which when I did jump around, because now I've been with Regensburg for 5 years, but in those early first 6, 7 years of playing overseas, that was one thing that was always linked as part of my package is not only did I get paid to play baseball, but I also got paid to do junior coaching. So if we're talking about the journey, how do players go from now they've explored all of their American experiences in terms of indie ball or whatever. When you are done with that, there are a lot of different ways. First and foremost, create a resume, a CV. On your resume, you need to have accolades, awards, coaching experience, playing experience, stats, and also have some video to accompany that. And then now that we're in 2025, you got to also have some numbers when it comes to exit velo and things like that. There's a lot of teams that want to see that as well. There are certain ways you can do it. So you can reach out to baseball jobs overseas. You can use WBT underscore 10 as a promo code. They set up a whole profile for you. And this is what I think baseball jobs overseas does really well at creating a profile that is digestible for teams. And they have a central website where teams will go to and find you on that website. And they do a really good job of that.
One of the projects that I've done before was a project on Argentinian baseball. Baseball jobs overseas, the first time that I ran into it was when I was looking for video on a couple of the players from the Argentinian team that was going to play in the World Baseball Classic qualifiers in 23. That was the only place that had pretty solid reel for some of these guys that were playing in lower German leagues or lower French leagues or Italy or that kind of thing that was in English at the very least.
I would say if I had to rank different routes you can go to, because the idea is I want to try to give people who are tuning in the opportunity to explore so many different avenues to getting overseas. Number one would be baseball jobs overseas. Setting up a profile, use my promo code, reach out to Jimmy Jensen or David Burns, both I know really well. They do a phenomenal job, and set yourself up with a profile. Your profile will be seen, and then it just comes down to what you've accomplished in your baseball career that will really catch their attention. The second thing you can do, we live in an age of social media. How I did it back in the day was through emails, nonstop emails. Now we live in an age of social media where social media now becomes your email platform. Go to these different leagues, throw it in ChatGPT. Baseball teams in Germany, baseball teams in the Netherlands, baseball teams in Czech Republic. Get the names of these teams, go on their Instagram and write them personally. Will it work? I don't know. It could work. I mean, they're checking their Instagram all the time, but then obviously it's going to come down to, hey, let me see your profile. And this is where baseball jobs can also enhance that, because then you'll have a link directly to a profile that's on baseball jobs overseas that a lot of people know. And you can send that link to them that links your resume. So there's those two options. Then I did it the old school way, and I just sent a lot of emails, and also personal references is another avenue. You can reach out to me. How I first got overseas to Australia was a personal recommendation of a buddy of mine that went over there and played, and then recommended me to the same team the next year. So you've got those four avenues. And again, if there's any questions that anybody's tuning in and need to ask, reach out to you, reach out to me. and we can help them. Now let's talk about what these players can expect after they've gone ahead and made a resume. They've explored all four avenues of trying to get in contact with the team. The team contacted them, they like them, and they want to sign them. Australia and Europe do not expect to get rich. That is not a reality of baseball overseas. Okay. Nobody's making enough money in Europe or in Australia to where they're going to go home, buy a house, have a car, and retire. That's not going to happen. Those leagues are reserved for obviously Japan, Korea, America. But when we're talking about Australia, when we're talking about Europe, let's first go with the Australia route because that's the winter season for us as Americans and not the summer season. So if you're going to play indie ball, you could even go to Australia and then go back to indie ball. You can use Australia as a place to work on things. My last year in Australia, we had a guy from Canada play with the Cubs and then got released. And then he'd been indie ball for 3 years, throws cheese 94, 95, but had always been a reliever. And his issue was he could not throw strikes. His walk to strike ratio was pretty high. So he used Australia to go over there, get a bunch of innings, and work on being in the zone. What can you expect, Australia? Your flights should be taken care of. I'm going to use the word should because every club is a bit different, but I'm going to use the word should because this is what you should expect. Just even keel. There might be some outlier clubs that don't do this, and there might be some clubs that do a little bit more, but this is kind of that base level that people or players should expect. Australia and Europe, flights should be taken care of to and from. Whether you're getting to Australia and then back to America for indie ball or to Australia and then to Europe, to and from should be taken care of, number one. Australia and Europe differ when it comes to accommodation. Base level in Europe, you will get an accommodation at the field or in an apartment or a house, however that club has it set up. But more times than not, you are going to live with other baseball players, the other imports or the other European players that they bring in to play for their club. For example, when I played in Ostrava, we lived above the restaurant. They had some apartments above the restaurant. That's where we lived. Here in Regensburg, we have guys that live in an apartment together. We also have apartments attached to the field where guys are living at as well. So your accommodation is in that way when it comes to Europe. Australia, you are most likely going to live with a host family. More times than not, you live with the host family. So you're getting that accommodation that you got when you went and played summer league, when you were in college, and you went to the Northwoods League or you went to one of those leagues where you're living either in the back house or in a room. So that's your accommodation. My first year, I ended up living in one of the rooms in the house of a host family who I still stay in contact to this day. And then it wasn't until I became a little bit more of a veteran going over to Australia where I kind of made connections to where I wanted to pay for my own housing and have my own place to stay. So that's what you can expect when it comes to accommodation. Payment. And I'm sure this is where everybody's ears peak up and they want to hear how much you can make. In Australia, you don't make anything. In state league, you will not get paid to play baseball. What you will get is a job. They will give you access, and this is something that you need to negotiate in your contract, is access to a job. They expect you to be like any other Aussie and work Monday through Friday. For example, my first year, I worked in a factory making air conditioning units from 6 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. However, I did make really good money. I was making 800 to 900 Australian a week. They pay weekly there. Why I like Australia in terms of that route is you will make as much as you want to. You can go work a job and work your ass off for 6 months and save up a bunch of money. When I left Australia the first time, I saved up a good chunk of change. I won't put a monetary value on it, but we're talking almost $10,000 I was able to save just because I just grinded and worked Monday through Friday on top of playing baseball. In Europe, you will not work a job. You do not have time to work a job because you are practicing Tuesday through Friday, playing Saturday, Sunday. So you're getting paid to play baseball. Now, we're talking indie ball level money. We're talking 800 a month. However, your accommodation is paid for. Most teams will usually give you a meal, one free meal at the stadium, and how you work it into your contract. But more times than not, for example, my first year in Czech Republic, I was making around that much money monetarily, but my apartment was paid for. I didn't have any bills or anything. And then I got 2 free meals a day. So I got to go down and have lunch and I got to have dinner in a really nice restaurant and really get authentic Czech food, which I really enjoyed.
Oh yeah, it's the best.
Yeah, it's pretty legit. So that's what you can expect. Now, again, that monetary value, and this was the first year I went overseas. So that monetary value kind of changes depending on where you've played, where you've performed, how badly a team wants you, whether there's a, for lack of a better term, a bidding war for you. I've seen guys with some incredible resumes go over and make more money. And I've seen guys come over with no resume and literally just want to be able to play and just have their accommodation paid for. And then how you can piggyback on that to make some more money that you can sprinkle in with the club when you're talking contract. You're willing to do baseball camps. You'll get paid to do baseball camps. When I was in Australia, we would put on a 4 week camp and I got paid every single week to do that 4 week camp on top of working my job. So I got to double down on my money. In Europe, here, for example, in Regensburg, we do, I think, a total of 2 months worth of camps sprinkled throughout the season that you get paid for as if you're working a regular job. So there's that. Let's talk about the visa. And this is where I think it's important for a lot of people to pay attention. You should be negotiating to get a visa. There are some teams out there that will not get you a visa or do not talk about the visa. And you come out on a visitor's visa, for example, in Europe, and you get 3 months. And I've heard horror stories before where a guy comes out for 3 months, the season ends, 4 or 5 months. It goes 4 or 5 months. And that fourth and fifth month, they're kind of staying in Europe illegally and playing baseball. And then when you try to leave and fly back home and they check your passport, you will get fined. And I've seen people, for example, in Australia get banned for 2, 3 years from coming back to Australia, or
Right.
a fine to get out of Europe. So I highly recommend making sure that you talk to the team about what visa situation, are they going to get you a visa, etc. When we're talking about Australia, 9 times out of 10, you are going to get a working holiday visa.
That's what I was going to ask about. Yeah.
Yep. So that you can work in Australia. So you get a working holiday visa, something to be aware of that a lot of people aren't aware of. And this is also another golden nugget of information. Your working holiday visa will last for 1 year. You get 1 year to work without restrictions. You can extend that year by doing rural work. I've had people that went down south and worked at a winery. You can find some jobs on the outskirts of the city, whether you're putting up solar panels and things like that, that will count towards getting a second year of a working holiday visa. But again, these are things that you need to explore with your club and let them know that, hey, in the world that I have envisioned, I want to play for your team not only for this winter but for the next winter, and I want to extend that working holiday visa. Can you reach out to club members that might have connections to rural work that allow me to get that second year of working holiday visa? Because if you don't, what you will now have to do is two things. You will have to come out on a visitor's visa, which means that you are not allowed to work.
You're looking at kind of figuring your own way out.
Exactly. Yeah. I never had to do that. I don't recommend doing that. That is not something that I stand for. But at the same time, I know people that have done it. So it is what it is.
How did you get around that? I mean, you were in Australia for how many years?
I went from 2 years of working holiday visa and then I did a sports visa. So there are certain clubs that have a certain amount of juniors that can allow them to apply for a sports visa, which allows them to bring somebody out on a visa that will show you that you are going to, coach the club. So after my second year, I became the head coach of a baseball club out there. Still the only coach in that club's history to ever make the playoffs. We went from, they had won 5 games total in the history of their club a season, and then we won 8, then we won 10, and then we made the playoffs for the first time ever. So I really was able to help this club, start building its way up, which I'm very proud of. But they got me a sports visa, and a sports visa will allow you to get paid as a coach, will allow you to get paid by doing camps, will allow you to get paid if you do lessons. And then you can also go find sporting work. There's that gray area where, like, if you work at Oakley I had a guy that came out and played for me on a sports visa. My best friend Petey, who spent a lot of years with me overseas, he came out on a sports visa and he worked at Oakley because that's sports related work.
So like a store for Oakley.
Work at a store for Oakley. You can work at they have a JD Sports, I believe it is. Any sporting kind of realm of work, you can find work in that way on a sporting visa. But then you have restrictions on amount of hours that you can do inside that store. So there's that. Doing lessons is also another really beneficial way of making money when you're in Australia. They really do value lessons. I was paid anywhere from 45 to 50 Australian dollars an hour per lesson. And I got to a point where I'd work till 2, go to the baseball field at 2:30, do lessons from 2:30 till 5, and then practice from 5 to 7 and rinse and repeat Monday through Friday. I was just out there trying to grind and make money. In Europe, you do not work a job when you were brought out to play baseball. You can do lessons, but lessons aren't really, because we have an academy here. Other clubs don't have an academy, so you could do lessons there. Working their camps is also another way. But that's kind of the difference between Australia and Europe when it comes to that contract kind of point of view.
So is that mainly early on in Europe? Like, because I know now you work full time.
So that's a perfect segue because we talked about exploring American baseball, finding a way to get into Europe and Australia. What can you expect in Europe and Australia, working wise, living wise? Real quick before I jump into the next one. In Australia, you have a lot of time to explore. I went swimming with whale sharks. I got my diver's license. I did a lot of things like that in Australia because Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, you have nothing. Tuesday, Thursday, you practice. Sunday, you play. So you have time to work. You have time to go on trips and things like that. When you're in Europe, you have time during the bye weeks to go do exploration type things. Or if you play Friday, Saturday, segueing that into a Sunday, Monday trip, and maybe your coach will let you miss Tuesday and you come back on Wednesday. It's a lot more baseball in Europe. Tuesday through Friday practice, play Saturday, Sunday, etc. How can you stay overseas? There's guys like me. There's guys like, off the top of my head, Jake Rabinowitz, played for the Czech national team. He's from New York, now has 2 kids and a wife, lives in Czech. Ryan Johnson, one of the poster childs for baseball jobs overseas, who does a great job highlighting what it is to be a baseball jobs overseas guy. Canadian, went to Czech, a monster, can hit, can pitch, and now is part of the Czech national team, played in the Euros. Czech Republic got him a passport because he'd been there for so long. And I say poster child not in a bad way, I mean it in a good way. But he's a great example as to what you can do and stay overseas. When you decide to stay overseas longer, whether that be in Australia, I got a lot of buddies that have Edgar Mundarain, played in Italy from Venezuela, has an Italian passport, played in the Italian league, won championships with Rimini. My first year in Australia was his first year there, and now he works in Australia, owns a company in Australia, and has a house and a wife and a kid, and is living a beautiful life. How do you segue that further? Number one, connections. When you go overseas, make sure you have as many constructive conversations with as many people as you can. And I mean this. And when people reach out to me and they ask me, like, what are some tips? This is always number one. Treat people how you want to be treated, because you never know. The person that you might treat like shit might be somebody that you need down the road. Even if you don't hit it off with this person, even if you don't like this person, that gives you no right to treat them in any way less than the way you want to be treated. So that's number one. Make some connections, have some valuable conversations, make some meaningful connections, because it could lead to a job, it could lead to more baseball, it could lead to a pathway to exploring a life outside of America. That's number one. Number two, when you do something, whether that's work, whether that's coaching, try not to complain. Like, I know there's things that you want to complain about. Oh, I don't make enough money, or, oh, it sucks waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You're living there. Okay. So, as it sucks to wake up and do a job Monday through Friday in Australia, it also sucks to do it back home in America too. You know what I mean? So,
Exactly.
work the job, because those are connections. It could segue, like for me, for example, I went from working in factories doing work that is probably done by a robot by now, making air conditioning units for 8 hours a day, to now I work for a live blog company in Germany, and I got that through the baseball team. So if you want to create a life here, it's all about connections, and it's all about keeping your head down and continuously trying to better yourself. If you want to live in Australia, you're looking at you want to be there year round. You want to keep leapfrogging from visa to visa because after 5 years, you could apply on the right pathway towards getting permanent residency. I was on that pathway and then I decided not to live in Australia. Here in Germany, and it's different in other countries, but here in Germany, B1 certificate, which means that you have B1 proficiency in German. I can hold a bit of a German conversation. You have to have a job that is not baseball related. You have to be paying into your insurance, paying into your retirement plan, and then having a place of residency for 5 years, which I am now completed in August.
Well, congratulations on that. I mean, that's a huge step, especially for someone that doesn't have like those European roots, right?
Absolutely. So those are the pathways and how to get to overseas baseball. And once you realize you're in overseas baseball and you really love this, you can leapfrog from Europe to Australia back and forth. And then when you find a place that you never want to leave again, use those connections that you built up to find a job, find a pathway to permanent residency. If you ever want to ask, how do you do it? How do you find it? Just let me know. I can also put you into contact with people that are actually living in the place that you want to live in. And then you can kind of ask them and pick their brain on how they went about it visa wise, how they went about it work wise, etc.
I am curious. So, what I meant by the European roots comment was like having grandparents that are European, that like is a very straightforward path to having a passport from like an Italy or from another country within the European Union. That does not apply to you, right?
I do not have any heritage in Europe to get a European passport. I will be doing this the 5 year route, like I just said.
I think of like John Hussey or the players that you were talking about with the Czech Republic. Is it something where if they don't have the heritage?
There's other ways. Like I know, you're not trying to offend anybody by saying that they married into getting a passport.
No, exactly.
Yeah, there's just different ways of doing it. Like, don't get me wrong, I know heaps of people, like baseball players. I mean, when you fall in love with somebody, you fall in love with somebody. I know a
Oh, exactly.
bunch of baseball players that either in Australia, I've got a buddy from Canada that found an Australian girl his first year, fell in love, and they've been together now for 5 years. He's becoming an Aussie citizen. They're expecting their first baby. John Hussey,
He's the story that I think of just because he told me the story in an interview.
that is one way because when you find somebody, like when you travel the world and you find somebody that you really connect with and you want to spend the rest of your life with that person, that is one pathway. Now, is it easy? No. You still have to and it's different in every country, but like for example, like in Switzerland, you marry somebody from Switzerland, you still need to go get a B1, license in one of the three spoken languages of the country. You guys need to have a joint bank account. You guys need to have been together for 5 years in order just to apply for getting this Swiss passport. So every country is different, but yeah, that's one of the ways of doing it. Another way of doing it when you aren't married is through those connections. Like, hey, what do I need to do in order to stay here? I mean, when you find the right connection that has the network to have conversations with, how do I get my player to be here long term, that wants to be here long term? They may tell you what they told me. I asked my president, how do I get here, and stay here long term? Because I have no other connection of being here. Okay, you need to find a job. Boom, find a job. Okay, now you need to go take German courses and go through the A1, A2, B1. Boom, did that. You need to go find a place to live where you're paying rent and being a part of society. Boom, did that. So by having those connections, you start to find the steps of how do I get here and how do I stay here? You know what I mean?
So your club helped kind of walk you through that process.
Exactly.
Not really facilitating, but at least helping you deal with the logistics of
Exactly.
figuring it out.
That's the cheat code to this entire thing is like you are going to go do two things when you set off on this overseas journey. Number one, you are going to completely change your core values, what you find important in life, because you're about to go experience different cultures, different ways of living. So everything you thought was important is probably going to get reshuffled. I always wanted a super fancy car and a super fancy job, and I wanted to live in a big house and all this stuff like that. I could care less as long as my car gets me from point A to point B at this point in my lifetime. That I'm perfectly fine with that. What I want is to keep racking up life experiences. I want to go learn how to snowboard in Switzerland. I want to swim with whale sharks. I want to get my diver's license in Bali. I want to rack up those life experiences. That's number one. Number two, it's a cheat code because you're not just going to go and travel on a holiday and go do all the touristy things for 3 weeks to a month and then come back home and say, "Yay, I went on vacation." No, you're going to go live somewhere for 6 months. And the cheat code to it all is you're going to go join a club, which is a community of people that can help you throughout this process, that can help you find a job, that can help you with a car. So, one thing I didn't mention in Australia, you can also expect a car. They will give you a car for you to drive around with. In Europe, most teams do not give you a car. You either get like a bicycle, sometimes a scooter, or like a bus or a train ticket that is good no matter where you go, those types of things.
In a place that has good public transit, that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
exactly. But yeah, you're joining a community that's going to help you reach your end goal, whether that's continuously playing for them, going and coming back, going and coming back. That's the community that can help you on, what do I need to do for visa? Or this is your community that, hey, I want to live here long term. Can you help me find a job? Or we've got guys that do our field crew. That's part of their contract. Is not only do they get paid to play baseball, and that's a part of it, but then they're also part of our field crew. They take care of the field, and it's another part-time job that they can do to put on their resume. My team helped me by adding things to my resume, like working in a factory or doing things like that. So that you're joining a community. You're not just going over there and just trying to figure it out by yourself from scratch, but you're given a lot of like cheat codes, like a car and the visa, and joining a community that's going to help you find a job, etc.
That is one interesting thing that I didn't think about. So when I went over as a student, all of the visa stuff, all of like the accommodations, the I didn't even have to think about a car because why would I? I was a student in a city with public transit, which by the way, extremely jealous as an American that's relying on old Sentra to drive around.
Yeah. Public trans in Europe
God,
is next level. That's one thing that people don't realize is like they go to Australia and they get a car and they're like, yeah, and then they come here and they're like, well, where's my car? And I'm like, dude, jump on a bike or take the
it's
train
so
and the bus.
nice.
Everything's efficient.
I miss trains. I miss trains. I miss
Dude, train
trolleys. I
rides
miss
in Europe is
trams.
amazing, dude. The
You
things
can
you
get
see.
places
Yeah.
easily and safely.
Yes. Yeah.
I miss it so much. Oh my god! Like I was there for a semester, and I could just go across the city cheaply and easily. And
Yes.
now it's like, oh, I need to go find parking 3 cities over. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, I miss it so much. I'm having like an existential crisis here. I
Yeah.
miss it.
To put the feeling on your face in an example, I can go from here in Regensburg. I can take the bus to the Hauptbahnhof, which is the train station. I can take the train and get a beautiful scenic train ride all the way to Prague, jump
Yep.
off the train in Prague and be directly in the middle of the city in Prague and take the subway or take any tram or bus and get to anywhere in Prague, stay there for a couple of days, jump right back on the train, come back to Regensburg, and I'm back home.
I mean, I'm sure it's more expensive than when I did it as a student because I could do that in 3 hours for about $3 as a student.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I,
Oh my
I can,
god.
I can do all that traveling I just told you about for like easily under 80 euro.
That is insane, especially compared to the US. The last thing I kind of want to touch on, you brought up the car thing, and I know I've been gushing about public transit, but how is the experience of driving in a foreign country for an American? I know you're laughing for a certain reason,
Yeah,
and I want to touch on that for sure. I never
yeah.
had to drive as a student over there. So it's kind of that's new territory for me as someone who relies on it here.
I will tell you two embarrassing stories from two different locations. What is it like to drive overseas? In Australia, it's very interesting when you first get there because, by the way, you're driving on the other side of the road and the other side of the car. So I racked up about 6 speeding tickets in a matter of like 2 months my first year in Australia, which was not cheap, which is also probably part of the reason why I needed to grind so hard and work. My first ever speeding ticket, I'm pulling out of a McDonald's drive-through, and you know that I got McDonald's, and I think my mind probably just went back into like that
Uh-huh.
American mind where I'm leaving McDonald's and I make the turn and I'm driving, and then it's kind of late at night. It's probably like 10 o'clock at night, so there's not a whole lot of cars on the street where I was, and I'm driving and I'm cruising. I'm like, okay, no issues. I'm reaching over for my French fries, getting my French fries, and I look up and I'm like, are those headlights coming at me? And then it clicked. I'm like, I'm on the wrong side of the road. So I sped up to get over to the right side of the road so I can drive on the correct side of the road. As I get over, boom, flash.
Oh
One
man.
thing to be careful of in Australia, and it's crazy. There are blitzers. They call them blitzers. There are blitzers everywhere. And they're just little cameras on the side of the road, on the side of the highway, where if you even do over like 8 kilometers more than what you're supposed to, boom, ticket immediately. And
Oh, so like traffic cameras.
yeah, they have traffic cameras everywhere, everywhere. And on
Oh
top of
wow.
that, first time I've ever seen it, they'll put a traffic camera in the back of a van and park the van on the side of the street. And when you go speeding, because you're like, okay, I don't see anything. There's no traffic cameras. I'm speeding, I'm speeding. You'll see a flash in the back of a truck, and they put a speeding camera in the back of a truck to catch you.
Oh, that's
They
wild.
have
I
them in
know like
Australia and they have them in Europe.
they've started to do that more here where like you have more cameras on traffic lights and that kind of thing in central New
Mm-hmm.
York where I'm at, but also down south. Like I know stories of people that were on vacation going back up north in the US, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
they get a ticket sent to them a week later. It's like, where did this happen?
I had a whole lot of expensive portrait photos taken my first couple months in Australia.
I mean, we love good photography, but good God.
Yeah. And then my story here in Europe. So it's weird driving on the other side of the road in Australia. They take the speed limit super seriously. We drive way faster than they do in Australia. So just
Oh,
always
sure.
be careful when you jump in the car over there. Number one, make sure you focus on the road because it's really disorienting at first. But also watch out for the speeding cameras. You'll rack up a bunch of them.
Oh, sure.
Here in Europe, you get the first year where you can drive with your American license. So in Australia, I can take my American license and drive all day long. Unless you start getting like permanent residency, then you need to get Australian license. That's what I got. I got an Australian license after I think my 8th year there. Here in Europe, Germany especially, you get a year of driving with your California license. I have to speak about California because I'm going to tell you why in a minute. I got a year with driving with my California license. After that year, you have to get a German driver's license, unless you're a visitor, unless you're coming in and out as a visitor. But once you're getting residency here or you have a permanent place of residency. So I had an apartment, you got to get a license. My embarrassing story in Germany. Didn't realize I needed to get a German license because I was like, oh, I go to Australia every 6 months and come back, but I still had permanent, like a residency here in Germany,
Gotcha.
but I was just gone for 6 months. So I'm like, okay, I came back, no problem. The first winter, I didn't go back to Australia last year. I joined to sign up and play for a pro basketball team, which was a 45-minute drive for me. So I drive 45 minutes there for practice and we come back. Go to practice. I leave practice, thinking nothing of it. I get to one street. A car makes a U-turn in front of me. I try to let the car go by. He waits for me, so I pull out in front of him. He's following me to the red light. I make a left turn. He's following me again. I'm driving down the street. I'm like, okay, this is super sketchy. Then lights flash. Undercover cop. Okay. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm good. Pull over. How we doing, sir? Speaking to me in German. I'm like, hey, mein Deutsch ist nicht so good. Können wir auf in Deutsch sprechen? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, what are you doing here? Oh, I play basketball for Landshut. I'm just on my way back to Regensburg. That's where I live. Oh, you live in Regensburg? Yeah, yeah, I live in Regensburg. Can I see, some identification? At the time, I had a residency card, which allowed me to, travel in and out of Germany with no issues, no problems. Hand him my residency card. Sir, it looks like you've had residency here for 3 years now. Yeah, yeah. I live in Regensburg. Uh, where's your license? Oh, here it is right here. Where's your German license? German license? Yeah, yeah. Where's your German license? I have a German license. I got a California license. I'm in Australia for 6 months and then I come back. Yeah, but here in Germany, when you have a residency card, that means that you've been here for more than a year and you need to have a license. Long story short, I had to park my car in Landshut, take the train back, got home at 1 o'clock in the morning, had to come back to Landshut to get my car, which was embarrassing enough. A couple months go by, 2,000 euros later.
Oh, God.
I now have a German license after paying all the fines that I had to pay. And here I am now with a German license. The kicker to all of this, in Germany, they classify every state in America differently. So if I'm from California with a California license, I have to take the written test and the driving test over here in Germany. If I am from Arizona, I just have to do the written test. If I'm from Idaho, all I've got to do is hand in my license and I get a German license after paying the little
Why?
Makes no sense. So
why Idaho?
My loophole, and this is for all you guys that are going to go to Australia and you want to get a German license at some point in your lifetime. And this is what pissed me off the most. I read up on the rules. If I get an Australian license, which I got a license in Australia, came back. Now, mind you, they drive on the other side of the road and the other side of the car. I can hand in my Australian license, pay the transfer fee, and get a German license right back. So you're going to tell me I'm from California. I drive on the same side of the car, the same side of the road that you guys do here in Germany. We deal with way more traffic in California with way more people on the road. But I've got to go do the written test and the driving test to get a German license. But the Australian license, other side of the car, other side of the road, hand it in, get a German license.
That's hysterical and also insane.
Blew my mind, dude.
No, I can imagine. I'm glad that I asked about the driving thing because I was not expecting it to go that way. But oh my God, this is wow.
Perfect way to end episode 2, huh?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I got to say we've covered a lot in this one. This goes into detail about finding those connections or making those first connections after you've already explored what you've done in the US, talking about contracts, what to expect and what not to expect, and folding the accommodations into that. I mean, like, that was something that was very interesting to me, just as someone who my only experience of living overseas was facilitated by a school. So figuring out accommodations through them as well as visas through them, it's like, no, this is all stuff that as a professional, you have a lot to think about. And I think that we kind of went through it in a way that's easy to understand. Like, hey, there are resources that can help you figure this out. Obviously, it's not as easy as, hey, I'm a student over here on a visa. But there are paths to get over there, and I think that we covered a lot of what people need to at least get the process started of figuring out how they can make those opportunities happen. And then, I mean, embarrassing stories are the best part of driving, right? Dude, especially expensive ones.
Dude, I learned a very hard lesson in Germany last year. Like, it really hurt to watch 2,000 euros just leave my bank account.
I mean, expensive, hard lessons in Germany. I learned that by locking a laptop in a locker at a hostel and then never seeing it again.
Oh, yeah.
So that was about 1,000.
All learned.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go overseas enough, you will find a story along your journey where your pockets got hit pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's part of the cost of doing business.
Honestly. Yeah.
And exactly, I hate that that's the case, but it is.
Yeah. Yeah. It hurts. It hurts.
Oh,
sure.
My God. Anyways, though, this has been Baseball Abroad episode 2. I've had fun. I hope you've had fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I shared a lot of embarrassing stuff, so I hope we made people laugh and we also gave them information.
No, exactly. And I mean, if we can be entertaining but also insightful, I think that's the best way to do this. So let's wrap this one up, and we'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching Baseball Abroad. If you like what we do here, give us an interaction on whatever platform you're listening on, and keep an ear out for our next episode, coming soon to a platform near you. Make sure to check out our personal channels for more content, Devon at World Baseball Traveler and Ryan at World Baseball Blotter, and we'll see you next time.